In the poor and outcast, we see Christ's face. By loving and helping the poor, we love and serve Christ. In this quote from Pope Francis, one can see that serving others, especially the poor, is a sure way of modeling the life of Christ and showing our love for God. For the previous 2 years, I had the privilege of serving disadvantaged families and children in Monterrey, Mexico. This trip was organized through the direction of Opus Dei, a personal prelature of the Catholic Church founded by Saint Jose Maria. The mission of Opus Dei, or the work of God, is to spread the Christian message that every person is called to holiness and that all work can be sanctified. As Catholics, we are called to become saints and imitate Christ, and in imitation of Christ, we are called to serve the poor. In Matthew chapter 25, verse 40, Jesus says, "Whatever you did to the least of my brothers and sisters, you did it unto me." While I was in Mexico, I served children of a local parish by teaching them catechism and prayers, playing sports with them, and instructing them in basic English. All of the families I had contact with while I was on this trip were living in some state of poverty. Many had health problems, lacked sufficient medical or dental attention, or were beset by some other misfortune. Others I encountered lived in extreme poverty. Many resided in houses with no running water, some were plagued by incurable diseases, and others lived in houses inadequate for comfort or protection. About 51 million residents of Mexico, or 42% of the population, lives beneath the poverty line. This is an extraordinary difference compared to the United States, where only 14% of the inhabitants live in poverty. It is our duty then, as faithful Christians, to provide care both monetarily and spiritually to these third world countries. Spiritual and corporal works of mercy fulfill this obligation which Christ asks of everyone in the gospel. In Mexico, 3 of the corporal works of mercy and 5 of the 7 spiritual works of mercy were accomplished. On the trip, my group clothed the naked through our donation of clothes. We brought 20 large trash bags full of clothes and divided them into about 75 small bags and handed them out to poor families. In addition, we sheltered the homeless by other donations that improved the living conditions of the families we came in contact with. The last corporal work of mercy we accomplished was comforting the sick. While we handed out clothes to the homes of the poor, we encountered many people who were sick, and others who were even on their deathbed. One lady had not left her house in over a year because she was taking care of her disabled son due to a leg infection, and her husband who had cancer and was just skin and bones. When we gave her clothes, she said, "I appreciate you for coming and all the donations you have given my family, but what I really need is your prayers. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have faith, you have nothing." This woman, who had nothing, realized the importance of faith in one's life. This leads to the spiritual works of mercy. In daily Mass and praying the Rosary every day, we prayed for both the living and the dead. In our practice of virtues, especially patience, we bore wrongs patiently and admonished sinners with both the families we were in contact with and with the participants on the trip. While teaching the children, we instructed the uninformed and counseled the doubtful by teaching them the virtue of hope. Although this trip sounds like I drastically changed people's lives, the fact of the matter is that it changed my life. And one does not have to have a profound experience in a third world country to make a difference in others and their own lives, but every small act of service done out of love for God becomes a large act of love for others.